Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. I'm your watch guy today. Today I'm reviewing a watch from a company that I've only ever seen one other watch from in hand. I reviewed their Z series when I first started reviewing watches, or when I first started to really get the channel going, and I was actually quite impressed with that, but they've definitely took a step up since then. Now this is from Ciga Design and this is their U series Blue Planet. You've definitely seen this on YouTube or in some sort of article before this, or in my unboxing of it a few weeks ago. This one is actually quite a big deal in watch circles at the moment. This watch won the GPHG award in its category, the Challenge Award, below 3,500 Swiss franc, I believe. Now, in doing so, it beat off the likes of Doxa and Oris, two big Swiss companies. Well, I say big, quite well-known Swiss companies. But this piece is Chinese, and it's the first Chinese watch to win such an award. So it's a big deal. Now this is actually being released into full production today. So that's why I've planned this release for today. It will be going live at 1 PM for pre-orders. That is your best chance to get it at a reasonable price. Now that price is quite ambiguous. When it was first announced, I believe it was around $2,000, but I do believe that they've brought the pricing down a little bit more reasonably, and I think there's two different options that you can pick up. Again, very ambiguous release, this one. I just know that I will be going live at 1 o'clock on the 21st. So, before we turn this camera around to review this piece, one, this has been sent to me for free by Ciga Design. I don't have to return it, and make of that what you will, but this will be a full and honest review of the piece. Two, let's hear from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by watchshopping.com, an online store that was established in 2017. They have over 1,000 watches in stock and in hand available to you, and they are from 90 plus different brands. 4,000 plus Chrono 24 and Trustpilot reviews shows how trustworthy watchshopping.com is. They are the one-stop shop for any watch that your heart may desire. If you'd like to take a closer look, they are linked in the description. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. So with all that out of the way, guys, let's turn this camera around and let's have a look at this absolutely incredible watch. This is the Ciga Design U Series Blue Planet. And before we get started, one thing that I will tell you is that it is very reflective. I do have a smaller light box, so these lights may intervene slightly in the review. Please do be patient. I will try and load this with as much B-roll as I possibly can to avert your eyes from that. So this is the first Chinese piece to win the Grand Prix Horloge Genève. Now, definitely pronounced that wrong, but that is a Swiss competition. So for a Chinese piece to win in a Swiss competition, it's a big deal. If we think back to the Japanese, when they started to enter those competitions, we know what type of world that led us into. Hopefully, this one will not be as dramatic on the Swiss market. It beat off the likes of the Doxa and the Oris 65 special editions of each piece. Now, it's easy to see why, because the unique time-telling functionality of this piece is just something completely different to what we are used to seeing. Let me talk to you about the casing and the diameter, the build of this watch. So we have a titanium alloy, which this case is built out of, very nicely manufactured. It has an almost satin brushed effect throughout the casing here, a radial brushed effect, circularly brushed around the casing, almost a flying saucer type of look to it. It is 45.9 millimeters in diameter throughout. It is 14.9 millimeters thick off wrist, and that includes this really nicely domed sapphire that flows very well with the design itself and the bowl-like casing that we have here. It is 45.9 millimeters lug to lug also, which really does help the wearability of this piece. We have 22 millimeter hidden lugs in this piece. As we move to the case back here, you can see that it is also a feature itself. Now, as you can see there through the display case back, we do have the GPHG logo on the back celebrating the award that this piece won. And as you can see clearly on that rotor, Ciga Design customized movement. Now, what I can tell you about this movement is it is a 28,800 beat movement. It's customized. I'm not quite sure what it is in the back of that. If anyone could tell me, that'd be very helpful. Maybe leave in the comments for people considering this piece. Designed by Ciga Design, titanium case, screw down display case back. Does not aid much in the water resistance, and I'll tell you why. This is a simple push-pull crown. Now, it does have a ghost position in that one. As you can see there, first position, doesn't do anything. Second position is the hour and minute markers, as you can see there. Now, the unique time telling capability of this piece is the thing that really surprised me about it. Obviously, it's a beautiful watch, but the way that it tells the time is just also so incredible. It's just absolutely genius, to be honest. So let me line it up to a time and I can tell you. So that would be 10 minutes past 4. Now we'll be lining up to the 60 mark. You can see that that is 5 o'clock. So this points to the minute first and then the hour after that. As you can see, obviously if we were in between, that would be 5:30, 5:40, 45, so on. And yeah, once you get used to it, it is easier to tell the time. It's not something that you are going to look at and just instantly know what time it is. It is something that you do have to stare at for a little while. I don't personally mind that. I think that this is much more of a statement piece than it is a timepiece. If you're looking for functionality, you're looking completely in the wrong place. I'll tell you that much now. Speaking of the crown, we do have a very lovely, unique design to this crown. The cutaways remind me of a propeller-like shape, almost like a turbine. I really do like that unique crown that sits inside this casing. It's almost hidden away slightly when in actual functionality. This movement's also hand winding. We have a domed sapphire crystal in this piece, and I don't think they could have gone any other direction. And I'll tell you why. The shaping of the case, or the case back, and flowing into the head of the watch, the top of the watch, you can see that really it's almost like the ozone layer above the earth. It really does give a nice cinematic almost effect to that dial. It plays with the light very nicely. It gives you a little bit extra visibility. Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. When you catch this at the right angle, it almost looks like the world coming over the horizon, almost like you're watching a sunset from the atmosphere. It's an absolutely incredible piece, I'll tell you that much. It's absolutely beautiful. As we move away from the casing itself and we move into the dial itself is a aluminium anodized piece. The blue anodized aluminium piece is carved into this really fantastically designed map of the world. Now, I did get a comment on the unboxing video of, well, it hasn't got America there, so I'm not interested. That's completely right. It doesn't have America here. This is mostly of Europe, Asia, Middle East, that direction. And personally, I really don't mind that. I mean, I know that we're not the centre of the earth, so as you can see the islands of Japan and the lakes flowing from here. I just think the carving of the piece itself is absolutely beautiful, the way that hits the light. And then we have this almost compass type of design here for the pointer. I just think that they absolutely nailed this. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful every way that you look at it. One thing that I mentioned in the unboxing is that I don't think that this is a timepiece. I don't think that this is what you'd really label as a watch. Obviously, it's something that you wear on your wrist. It's something that tells the time. But I genuinely think that this breaches the gap of timepieces and art. This is just, yeah, it's another level. It's a conversation starter, really. It's just a beautiful thing to behold. It's almost something that you could pin onto the wall and just admire for years to come. They've outdone themselves with the design. And unlike Pagani design, this is actually their designs. So we do have to give them mass amounts of respect for that design and credit. The domed earth sits in the center of two rings. The first outer ring is the minute track and the second outer ring is the hour markings. We have multiple markings throughout that to help with the time telling. And just down here between what is the 5 and the 4, we have the Ciga Design logo. I really love that they didn't take anything away with the center of the design. They didn't label that, they didn't put a logo across it or anything like that. They really just allowed it to be its own piece of absolute art. And I don't think they could have got much more right with this design. It's just absolutely fantastic. Now, there's no loom in this piece. That is not something that I am really interested in. I think that you give this a complete pass because that's not what this watch is about, quite frankly. As we move past the head of the watch, we move to this fantastic rubber band that accompanies the watch. It's very subtle to touch. It's very easy to manipulate on wrist. It's an absolutely fantastic soft piece of rubber band to the wrist when being worn. We have a quick release bars here for the strap. You can switch the strap between these. We have the Ciga Design logo on the inside, and as we look up here, we have the Ciga Design branding on the buckle itself, two keepers. After the war, I do believe that some of these were made with the GPHG clasp, or not clasp, keeper, which made them slightly heavier. Speaking of weight, this is 72 grams. It wears absolutely fantastic. Let me get it on wrist and show you that. Here we have it on my 6.2 inch wrists. Now, it is a big watch, can't deny that. 45.9 millimeters in diameter is a sight to behold, but it needs to be, and I'll tell you why I think it needs to be big. It's a statement. It is a watch that people will be absolutely fascinated with when they see it, and I've got to tell you, I will probably sound like a Filippo Valeretti advert right now, but people notice this on wrist. Like, they rarely do. I wore it in work for on off for about 2 weeks, and the compliments I got were above any other piece that I've worn, and I've worn some absolutely fantastic watches in that place, but this one got the most attention that I've ever experienced. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what they've gone for here. That's what they've made. That was the brief. They understood the assignment. It is a conversation starter. It is it's a work of art. They are literally just showing off what they can do. It's fantastic. Let me quickly go through the moans with you. Now, my personal moan, legibility, obviously that's not going to be what you buy this watch for, but some people will complain about that. Pricing ambiguity is one other for me. Now, they didn't really release a price for this. They released 50 pieces, which were priced around $2,000. Then they released another 365. But I do believe that they're bringing the price down. They just haven't released that actual price yet, which is quite an annoyance for me, to be honest. Now, thirdly, one thing that I do want to touch on is something that you may have seen in the Time Teller's review of this. Now, we all know what I think of the Time Teller. I think he's a little bit of a dick. I'll beep that out. Yeah, I have my own personal opinion of him. I just don't think he's very fair to a lot of brands. I don't think he's very fair to the market unless it's bloody Rolex or Audemars Piguet. You can, the likes. I don't think he really likes smaller brands. Personally, that's my own personal opinion of him. And he did point out, to be fair, which is very reasonable, that on one of their previous campaigns on Kickstarter, they didn't have the best comments, they didn't have the best reviews. Now, yeah, that's fair, they don't. However, not many brands on Kickstarter do. And that's because there's always a issue with the shipping time, the fulfillment of the watch. Now, I don't think I have ever partaken in a Kickstarter campaign that survived on time, unless it was from a brand that had the piece in hand and they were just using Kickstarter to generate revenue. So I would take that with a pinch of salt. Maybe use Trustpilot, something like that. Use the actual market itself, speak to people that have dealt with them, and see how you feel after that before you go into this. But please just don't have your opinion of a brand absolutely destroyed because Geordie said so. He's someone to take with a pinch of salt, put it that way. Now, away from that, I think that this watch is absolutely fantastic. If you want a statement piece, something that is going to attract pretty much every bloody person that looks at this watch, and you want to spend around £1,000, and you don't really care if it's Swiss or not, this is definitely something to consider. Now, I do have one question to finish this review with. This watch won a GPHG award, a Swiss award, very fairly, and it outdid the likes of Doxa and Oris, as I have mentioned, as well as other brands, plenty of other brands. My question is, what do the Chinese now have to do to prove that they're serious contenders in the watch market? Because this is a statement to me. Just something to think about. So guys, that's the Ciga Design Blue Planet. I think it's absolutely incredible. It's something that's going to sit in my collection for many, many years. Now, I probably say that more often than a lot of people, but I do have a larger collection than most people. But I think well, I don't know if I'll ever stop reviewing watches or stop doing videos and stuff like that. But I imagine that one day I'll step away from this and I'll have a massive collection of watches. And I just feel like that'll be one of the ones that won't leave the collection, whereas others might. I feel like this is one of those statement pieces that really just come along. Maybe we see one once a year. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, what I said about the Time Teller's review of this, or the Time Teller's opinion of this, please, one thing that I like to encourage in any market or any walk of life even, do your own research. Look into this yourself. Don't just take what he says as fact or gospel, because he says a lot of stupid, With that being said and all that out of the way, if you want to pick this watch up, it's going on pre-order at 1 o'clock. I'm going to release this at about 12, so you've got about an hour to get your ducks in order. I didn't give you much time for this, but I wanted to release it just on the eve of the watch's released, just to really bulk up the presence of this release and really, give you something to look at while you're thinking about it. So yeah, let me know what you think of this release. Let me know what you think of my question at the end there about the Chinese watch market. What do they have to do now to really push themselves forward in the watch market? Because, as I say, it's a big statement, isn't it? If you're not already subscribed here, guys, maybe give it a thought. Maybe hit that button down there and you'll see much more of my content on your feed. And I'd be very, very grateful. Thank you for watching this one, guys. As ever, I hope to see you in the next one.